For this video, let's look at some of the formal components of drawing. My drawing materials for this piece include graphite pencils ranging from a 6B to 2H, an assortment of blending sticks of various sizes, a kneaded eraser, a fine-tipped vinyl eraser, and lastly a brush to wipe eraser remains so I don't smudge the drawing. Now I briefly want to mention three things here: layering, value shifts, and edges. Let's take a look at each one separately. First, layering. If the area is dark or has texture, I use the pencils first, then use the blending sticks to smooth the value. This is done layer after layer. For example, I could start with a 2B, smooth with a blending stick, then go over again lightly with the 2B, blend, then switch to a 4B, blend again, etc. The value needed will of course determine which pencils are used and how many layers is needed. If I'm covering a lighter area, however, I typically use the blending sticks first. I like some of my blending sticks to be saturated with graphite so I can use it as a mark maker. I take a larger blender and lightly cover the surface area. This creates a nice even base very quickly. I then go over the area with successive pencils and blending as described before. Layering is the best way to get a nice, consistent, smooth result. I've noticed that beginning artists tend to get frustrated easily when their drawing doesn't look as they had hoped. What they don't realize is that their, quote, end product is actually not the end, but merely the first or second layer of something that requires 5 or 6. They haven't developed the piece enough. The key is to gradually add value layer after layer with sensitivity without overdrawing the area. Know when to add more, but also know when to stop. Don't overdraw. The second principle is good value shifts. It's a rare thing in nature to have a flat value. It does happen, but even a subtle shift will create a more interesting visual passage. You can create good value shifts by modulating the pressure you place on your pencil and by using the principles of layering. Make sure not to overuse a pencil. Don't make it do something it doesn't want to do. If you are pressing too hard, you will emboss the paper and you still won't get the results you want. Just move to a harder or softer pencil and you will more naturally allow you to get the results you want. Also, when layering value, remember that each pencil does not, nor should not, cover the same amount of surface area. Each darker pencil should cover less and less area so it gradually creates a nice, smooth transition of value. Again, don't overdraw. Know when to stop. Finally, look at your edges. If you're trying to render the illusion of light on a surface, which is basically the end and beginning of observational drawing, pay close attention to the edges of both the light itself and the form it hits. Some light will create a harsh cast shadow with a very defined edge. Other light will wrap around an object and gradually shift. Still others will be somewhere in between where the edge will be defined but very hazy. How light hits a surface will be one of the single most important ways to create the illusion of dimension. Lastly, pay attention to the edges of the object itself. The same principle applies here. Is it sharp and distinct, or is the edge a little bit lost in shadow? Pay close attention to edges and how they are rendered. Layering, value shifts, edges. Of course, there is a great deal to drawing techniques, but these are three things that are a great place to start. Keep them in mind. The more observant and cognizant of them, the better the outcome will be.